Meve noted a crowd of dwarves. They were several dozen, many holding baskets brimming with dried sausages, soft, puffy pretzels, and jugs of frothy beer.
What is this gathering?
She asked Gabor.
These folk, they're the parents of youngsters who are to return today from their Drekthag.
Gabor proceeded to explain that the Drekthag was a trek upon which the local dwarves would embark when they reached maturity. During this year-long voyage, young folk would taste of life beyond their home. Yet if they failed to return on time, they would be stripped of all rights and privileges accorded to Mahakam's natives.
See, in recent years, young folks' blood's been boiling on account of the strict laws in force here.
Gabor added.
So, we send them out. Let them taste life in the lowlands. Once they've learned for themselves what it's like to live among humans, they come back and ain't likely to complain.
Customarily, only a few dwarves ever decided to remain in the valleys for good. That year, however, was different.
Deadline's the morrow, and 40 Drekthagers still haven't returned.
Their parents now worried if some misfortune had not befallen them. The Mahakam Guard had sent out patrols to the near reaches of the valleys. They returned not having seen anything distressing, while the humans living at the foot of the massif had been largely unwilling to talk. The guard captain, a dwarf with a fiery red beard, removed his helmet, wiped the sweat from his brow, and addressed Meve.
Your Majesty, we need to find our youth. Perhaps you'd be willing to go out and search. Human folk are more like to tell you if they saw anything out of the ordinary of late. Naturally, there'd be something in it for you too.
If your guards who know these mountains like the backs of their hands could not find them,
said Meve,
then I truly doubt we will. Forgive me, I must refuse.
Having said this, the Queen rode off and her army resumed its march. And the dwarven parents were left to turn their gazes once more toward the valleys. Upon spying the returning Lyrians, the captain of the Mahakam Guard smiled. He hoped Meve had changed her mind and would now help.
One could say I myself have lost a son.
Meve gripped the captain's hand firmly.
And I know well the pain that comes. I shall do all in my might to spare you at least that.
Meve set off, the hopeful gazes of the dwarven parents bidding her farewell. The Queen sent a scout ahead. Sometime later, she heard his horn. 3 blasts. 2 short, 1 long.
An ambush!
Meve expected to combat beasts or robbers. Yet upon her force descended warriors with squirrel tails attached to their helms. Scoia'tael.
Scoia'tael! Don't let them escape!
They're so young. No wonder they were easily manipulated.
All right, enough. You've won.
As soon as the battle had come to an end, the prisoners were brought before the Queen. All, without exception, were dwarves, and all looked to be youthful dwarves.
Mystery solved,
muttered Meve. In fact, these were the missing Drekthagers. Instead of returning home, they had enlisted with guerrillas fighting for non-human rights. But what had prompted so drastic a decision?
I was impatient. Wanted badly to turn 50. I couldn't wait to see human cities. Vitsima, Tretagor, Novigrad,
said one of the dwarven prisoners while pressing a bandage to a bleeding wound.
And you know the welcome that awaited me there. I was spit upon and called names. I saw ghettos, massacres. And how was I to go back to the mines after that? We must fight while we still can. Before the humans come to cut us down, we must tell the rest of ours the same. Pull all Mahakam into the fight.
Meve's soldiers stood waiting for her to protest, to accuse the dwarf of lying. But the Queen could not pretend she did not understand why the dwarf had taken up arms. Without entering into a discussion, she ordered the prisoners taken to be tried and judged by their kin and elders. Along her way, Meve heard cries. She rushed to see what the ruckus was about. Upon seeing black Rayla spattered with blood, she expected the worst. Reynard could only confirm the Queen's fears.
She entered the wagon unnoticed. The wagon carrying the prisoners. She then cut their throats, one by one.
40 dwarves. Alone.
They were shackled. They could not defend themselves.
Rayla had nothing to say in her defense. In point of fact, she exuded pride.
Mahakam had been free of Scoia'tael, till now. We'd have done all a questionable favour by bringing back a wagon full of enraged youth wearing squirrel tails. They'd have posed as martyrs for a just cause. They'd have shown off their scars and persuaded the clans to make war on humans. All that deserved to be nipped in the bud.
Meve could see the blood rushing to Reynard's head. When he finally spoke, it was clear he was holding the reins of his emotions, preventing himself from exploding with some difficulty.
Your Grace, we must banish her, drive her off. This was in no way ordinary insubordination. This was a grave crime.
Your Majesty, you know I rarely meddle in your affairs.
Said Isbel.
Yet for this, I cannot remain silent. This woman must go.
Rayla, 'tis a fine line that separates a soldier, a warrior, from one who commits murder.
Said Meve.
That line you crossed today. You are to leave my ranks immediately. And never do I wish to see you again.
Rayla said nothing. She merely bowed in an excessively courtly manner, then moved off down the slope. Yet even once she disappeared, a clear red trail remained in the snow where she had passed. A trail of dwarven blood that had dripped from her armor. The Lyrians remained silent throughout their return. Upon spying their downcast eyes and somber means, the dwarves awaiting the return of their offspring dispersed to their homes, leaving baskets full of treats in the snow. No one asked any questions of Meve. Luckily so, as the Queen would not have known how to answer.
I neither accept nor condone what Rayla did. Yet, there is a war on, and she is one of the best warriors I have under my command.
Said the Queen.
Naturally, I shall punish her. But I cannot banish her.
Reynard opened his mouth to say something, but upon spotting Rayla's scornful smile, he turned on his heel and marched off without a word. He was later seen in the mess tent, drinking alone, his eyes fixed on the bottom of his tankard. The Lyrians remained silent throughout their return. Upon spying their downcast eyes and somber means, the dwarves awaiting the return of their offspring dispersed to their homes, leaving baskets full of treats in the snow. No one asked any questions of Meve. Luckily so, as the Queen would not have known how to answer.
Mom, I've come to tell you I must leave your army.
What? Why?
Against my better judgment, I joined you to heal your wounded. I realize now that was a mistake.
What exactly do you mean?
What you did runs counter to all my beliefs. You had your reasons, and have them still, I know. Yet I've no desire to abet them. I'd feel shame to lend a hand.
What can I do? Is there anything that would make you stay?
No, Mom. Farewell.
So be it. Good luck and Godspeed, Isbel.
Meve's soldiers stood waiting for her to protest, to accuse the dwarf of lying. But the Queen could not pretend she did not understand why the dwarf had taken up arms. Without entering into a discussion, she ordered the prisoners taken to be tried and judged by their kin and elders. The dwarven parents thus got their offspring returned to them, albeit wounded and in chains. Bruva Hoog, who had limitless disdain for the Scoia'tael, demanded the dwarven youth be severely punished for succumbing to the rebels' seductive ideals. In the end, the Drekthagers were sentenced to 50 years' hard labor in the quarries. The Elder-in-Chief believed a half-century of swinging a pickaxe would sufficiently cool the hot heads of these would-be guerrilla fighters.
They came back alive. That's the key part.
The red-headed captain said, handing Meve a pouch as a reward.
And perchance by the time they're freed, the war twixt the races will be over, eh? What do you think, Queen?
Meve shrugged in response. Perhaps she had no opinion in the matter, or perhaps she simply did not wish to state it aloud.
Didn't he find nothing? Not a trace. What could have happened? Might be in jail, but at least they're back. That's most important.